In this video I'm going to assemble a nozzle for a M3000 PVC motor. I start by, this is a wood cone that I turned on a lathe, mounted to a block, and I coat the very outside of the bottom and the cone with silicone glue or grease. The next thing I do is this is a 3-inch PVC adapter, threads on one side and slip fitting on the next. So I place it over the cone, and I have made a centering tool from a piece of 3-inch PVC, and the pipe is not a slip fit in there, it's very tight. So if you insert one end into boiling water for 1 minute and slip it into a fitting, it won't bind on you. And that also shrinks it a little, and I can place a nozzle washer, which is a 1.25" USS flat washer, and the diameter of the throat is 1.4 inches. So that's my centering tool. So I place the PVC adapter over the cone, and I place my centering tool on the cone, and that centers the adapter. Then I go around the outside with a glue gun, hot glue, and I make a seal. No holes whatsoever, so it'll hold all the anchoring cement that I pour in there. After the hot glue gets solidified, I remove the centering tool, and as you can see, it centers the expansion nozzle pretty well in the PVC adapter. The next step is I place a washer on the shoulder in here. This is a 3-inch by 2.5-inch machine bushing washer, kind of a specialty washer, and the 3 inch is just a little too large to go in the hole. It fits maybe the outside, but it won't fit down on the shoulder, so have to just grind a very little small amount off the outside edge, and it'll fit in there. The next step is to make a converging cone. So this is a typical small funnel, and I cut a piece of 3-inch PVC. I make it so it's double the depth of the fitting, which is about about 4 inches. And I start by coating the funnel only down to the point where the fitting fits, and I grease this part of the funnel with silicone grease, and I place the fitting, the piece of section of PVC on the funnel, and I place a 1.25" USS flat washer, which has a 1.4 inside diameter. And I've made a centering tool out of the USS 1.25" washer, and I think that's a 5/8 flat washer that just kind of glued inside there, that kind of centers it. And I place it over the tip of the funnel. That centers my pipe on the cone. So once it's centered, I hot glue around the outside edge. Then I place the washer on the cone, and I make sure it's square. Then I pour Rockite anchoring cement is my favorite, and I pour it about 1/8 of an inch over the top of the washer. Remove the hot glue from the funnel and remove the funnel. And if you wait longer than 15 minutes, it gets kind of set up too much, and it's hard to scrape the excess Rockite out of the nozzle. But at about 15 minutes, it crumbles out of there pretty easy, and it cleans up pretty nice. So that's my converging cone. And the next step is to just glue these two together. I've found that if you don't hold it for a while, it will kind of push up out of there because it's kind of tapered, the fitting. The next step is to pour some Rockite into the nozzle. And it takes quite a bit, maybe a couple of cups to fill that. I like my Rockite kind of thin, but so I just pour it in. And as soon as it covers the washer, the machinery bushing washer, I kind of tip it just to make sure there's no air bubbles right under it. So I fill it right up to the nozzle, the throat, and I do some tapping just to this is my throat tool, which is just a piece of 1-inch PVC. And coat coat the tool pretty well with grease inside and out. That way it'll be easier to get, because some Loctite's going to stick in there. So you just insert it into the throat, put it down on the cone. I kind of judge how long to leave this throat tool in there by how much the residue from your mix sets up. So if it's real warm weather, maybe 10 minutes. If it's cooler weather, maybe twice as long. But if you wait too long, it's really difficult to remove. That is just almost too soon, but usually this part stays in the tool. You have to remove it forcefully. So it's been a while since I've done this. I probably had a little too thin of Rockite in there. Maybe a little thicker would have been better. So it's best to wait about twice as long before you remove the base. So in my case, it's going to be about a half hour. I'm going to remove the base from my nozzle forming tool. I usually put this on a vise, but I'm going to just do it this way this time. I used to trim this out to the diameter of the nozzle washer, 1.4 inches. Right now it's 1.3, the diameter of the 1-inch PVC. I usually remove I usually trim this diameter to 1.4 inches, the diameter of the nozzle washer. And right now it's 1.3, which is the diameter of the 1-inch PVC. And the reason for not doing this anymore is because that Rockite will erode in just a fraction of a second. So the difference in the pressure from a 1.3 diameter to the 1.4 is 307 with the 1.4 and 379 with the 1.3. So that's not too much of an increase in pressure, so I figure it can handle it. And a 3-inch Schedule 40 PVC has a maximum operating pressure of 260 psi. which I'm 50 or 70 pounds above that. Almost 100 with the 1.3, but the burst pressure is 860 pounds, so I'm still in the safe area. I'm not pushing it too much. Now I'm going to put a coupling on my rocket nozzle here so it will join to my motor tube. If you don't hold it in position, it'll move, so you need to hold it for a few minutes. This is my motor tube. It's 49 inches long, 3 inches in diameter. I made my original motors out of Schedule 80 PVC. And it's very hard to find. Has to be shipped in. Cost a lot. So I've gone to Schedule 40, but I sized my grain making tools to the Schedule 80, which is a narrower inside diameter. So I have put a piece of 3-inch drain pipe. It's a thin wall PVC. I slid it so it fits inside, make a loose fit, and I mixed some primer and some PVC glue so it's about 50-50, and let it run down one side of the tube. And I put some on the liner. Then I slide them together until it comes down to the end. And the reason for this is because in the past I've just slid it in there. And this is a nozzle that has fired once. And this is the liner, and you can see that since it wasn't attached to the tube, it has come loose and basically plugged the nozzle. And this could have happened after the fuel had burned and the motor has lost pressure, and because I have a 15-second smoke grain, which this is right here. It's made out of a 2-inch coupling, and it's got 3/4 of an inch of fuel for because that's the thickness of the web of the grain. So that part burns at 3/10 inch per second. And after it loses pressure, it burns at 1/10 of an inch per second. So I have 3/4 of an inch for the fast part of the burn, and then 1.25 inches is about 12 or 13 seconds of delay. Then I seal the top with epoxy so I can pour Loctite on top. But that's quite a bit of heat, and it might have just melted this and that just kind of settled down there. But from now on, I'm going to at least attach it along one side to the tube just so it kind of stays attached. I'm going to attach my motor tube to my nozzle, and it's kind of hard to press them together, so I have made a little press here. I hold it for a few minutes, let it set. The reason why this is kind of tall is because I've made this for an 8-grain motor. This is a 9-grain motor, so it's 5 inches taller than my normal motor. My 8-grain motor is a 24 M2400. This is an M3000 motor. I usually install my motor mount before I put the nozzle on. This is my motor mount. It's sized to the 3-inch PVC for the motor. This is sized to fit inside of the airframe, and this is sized to fit outside of the airframe. So the airframe is what takes the thrust. I mean, it would have to shear that 1 inch of plywood to make the mount fail. So it's worked pretty good so far. I usually install it first, but it will. So that's with the motor mount installed. And after the motor fires, I just cut the tube and remove the motor mount, reuse it. So it fits in the airframe. There's a 3-inch piece of drainage PVC thin wall up in the top that centers the top of the motor with the cap. That's my motor mount, and I put a 1/4-inch screw from each side to hold the motor mount in.